love them long enough or carry the water for them until they're ready to carry it. And I see that happen all the time. And that's why, I hear a lot from people on the push from executive to silver, and they're like, the most work is executive to silver. And that's because you're carrying the water for a lot of people, because they're just getting their feet under them to learn how to carry it for themselves. Right. And so you're on the right track if you're loving and being patient, and all that stuff is super cool.
Thanks.
Neat. Well, I know there's a few other people on here. Some of you are at work, so that's totally cool. I just made a few notes of stuff I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to record this. It's recording now, so we can share it. But the reason this kind of came to mind is I had my BNI meeting this morning, and it was all about in business, like how quickly we can forget the basics of what got us where we are and created the success. And just kind of, I wanted to do a quick video on like what I don't use because it's too complicated, and tell you the story about my first ever hosting that I did by myself. So Jeanette is a pretty sneaky, I shouldn't say that she's sneaky, but she's a pretty smart lady. And she had come and hosted in my home for my friends a few times. And I still had friends who had questions. And so I said, can you come up and host today? And she was like, oh, I think so. I have to check my schedule. And then we got closer and closer. And she was like, Yvonne, I'm pretty busy. And remember, it was like a couple-hour drive for her. She's like, Yvonne, I really think you can do this. Like, I'll send you a script and, you can do this, right? And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I can. So this is the script that I had. And my very first hosting session ever, it was in the summer. I think there was about 5 people there. And I read from the script like this. I had 2 babies. I don't know how old they would have been. I don't know, 2 kids under 2 that were having a rough day. My mom was supposed to come and babysit them because I was doing this, but she got tied up at a haircut, so that didn't happen. And then everybody else who was there had kids. Some of them will be people who are watching this who are still on this journey together. We're all on this journey together and started that day. I did not have a kit. Back in the day when I bought my kit, you could choose to buy it without the diffuser. I was determined I would never use a diffuser, so I opted out for that to save the $50 and just bought the oils, which I took out of the oil box right away, of course, and threw the box out. So I just had a bunch of resin oils with me sitting outside around the bonfire, but it was the middle of the day. We were sitting out there. I just had a pile of oils and the script. That's all I had. I had an old product guide that was like a year-old product guide that Jeanette had left me, so it wasn't even current pricing. And I think it was a US product guide, not a Canada one. And I read from a script. The oils we're sharing with you today are in a special essential oil collection called the Everyday Oils Kit. It is a wonderful way to start using the oils. Okay, you get the idea. I'm not going to read the whole script to you. I don't know, were the 5 or 6 people who were there that day, I think 2 or 3 people bought kits. One is an active builder and leader on this team, Jody Brennan. Another became a personal coach to me, Amanda Buckleshuk, who some of you know. She teaches law of attraction coaching, was transformative to the foundation of my business and using thought processes to attract leaders and abundance and clients and wellness to our life. And the other one is Amanda Flynn, who was a friend who has used and ordered oils over the years to support her family and shared with friends and family. And I wanted to share this story because sometimes we complicate the sharing process. And really, people only purchase oils from people they know, like, and trust. And I sat there, yes, reading the script, but I also told the story about how oils had helped our kids who were really sick to get healthy, and how my husband had been missing all this work because he was sick and how he got healthy. And those are the stories and the relationships that I had built prior to that day. That's why people trusted me to purchase the oils. And so that was my first time ever sharing. After that, I don't remember. I think I progressed pretty quickly to ditch the script because that had gone so terrible. And not that I think scripts are fine. And if you are like, man, I have been waiting. I haven't hosted before because I'm so nervous, and I feel like a script would really help me. Hey, I hear you, because I had one. And if you feel that way, like, I will work with you to come up with a script so that you feel comfortable. If you feel like that's holding you back, like, let us know, let your upline know. I know that there's people here who can help you with that. So if you think a script would help, that's okay. So I said in the comments, I want to share the tools that I don't use though. So I try to keep it simple. I have an office full of things that I just sort of started as I was preparing for this video to pull stuff out, and piles of garbage and stuff. Because there's lots of tools that I explored that I now don't use. And one of them is I had this little flip book that I used to do my presentations with. My story, I showed my picture, and then I don't know why I would have hit acupuncture points next, but I guess I did. What are essential oils? Again, I was doing some reading. This was to help keep me focused because my sessions when I started were often 3 hours long. Sorry to those people who came to them, and I would go into like crazy stuff. I'm so sorry to the people, and I would get home at like midnight exhausted. Anyway, so then I moved to this. This was to keep me focused, which I think it did for anybody who saw me present like this. I think it did keep me focused. Went through, the cells, probably a bit too much science for most people. Purity, of course, we want to talk about purity. This is what the old kit used to look like. And then I went through each of the oils. I don't use this at all anymore. Not that it's a terrible idea, but it was way too much information. Like, still too much information, even though that was my simplifying. So I don't use that anymore. I know that some people have explored PowerPoints, and I recommend do not put your energy into doing a PowerPoint in a home session, because ultimately what people are going to connect with is what is inside of you. I remember a time when Nicole and I were hosting, and Jeanette drove up from Red Deer because it was going to be this huge event, and there was 11 or 13 people there. And she walked in the house, and Nicole and I were so proud of ourselves. We had a tablecloth and like every living product we had ever bought all laid out. And it was a first home session. None of these people had any oils. And she walked into the house and she was like, "What's with the tablecloth?" And we were like, "Isn't it great? We're rock stars, right, Jeanette? Like, we're amazing." And she was like, "Yeah, but the tablecloth means that if you're in business, you have to have a tablecloth." And that's not true. And to this day, I don't have a tablecloth. And so we ditched the tablecloth. And yes, there's a place for tablecloths. I'm not saying there's not, and they look professional, but it's just not necessary. And you don't have to wait until you get a tablecloth to share oils. You don't have to wait until you know everything about oils to share oils. You can just keep it really simple. So for me, really simple means that I always have a kit that has a complete, brand new kit. That's my sharing kit in my car. If someone says to me, "What do you do for a living?" and I say I teach people about using natural products, essential oils to support their health, and they go, "Oh, what do you mean?" Then I go, "Well, let me show you." And I just pull my kit out, and I don't give them a half an hour speech, but I just go, "See, this is a bottle of peppermint, and it's a great thing to use instead of Tums." And they'll be like, "Oh, really?" And then, as they ask questions, I can fill them in more. So I always have it there to grab that opportunity. Also, product guides. I'm a big, big fan of product guides. I have about 60 of these on the shelf. I always have them in my briefcase, and because often you'll run into someone who purchased oils from you maybe last year. Guess what? They don't have one of these. So this morning I met with a lady, and she said to me, "You know what, Yvonne, my daughter's 16. She started to get panic attacks." This woman had bought oils off of me a long time ago, and she said, "My daughter's starting to have panic attacks. Is there something that you would suggest?" We opened up the product guide, and I said, "There's a few in here that I'd suggest." And we opened it up, and I marked in there, Tranquil, send her to school with that. Make sure she's, she loves peppermint. I said, if she loves peppermint, great. Get her to use peppermint. That's super. And I said, "Here, we've marked it. Take this with you," right? Because we assume that people who have used oils have product guides, and they don't. So it's a very good investment to have a bunch of these ready to go, so that when you talk to somebody, they're not going to remember. You're like, "Hey, you should get Tranquil, and you should get Black Spruce, and you should get Cypress," and they don't remember any of that. To us, we just rattle it off, but they don't. So you better have something that you can mark, in, so that when they go home and log into their account, they can go, "Oh, okay," or you can message them it or whatever. But just be thinking about that. Okay, what else is in my notes here? Oh yeah, I know that ultimately, we talk about duplication a lot in this business, and we want to keep it simple so that when someone sees us sharing oils, they can see themselves sharing oils. And the reason that we want to keep it duplicable is not just to, is not to stifle creativity, because I sort of feel like being duplicable has two sides. One side says, hey, I share through BNI, so you have to share through BNI. And I don't like that. Like, I like the creative side where it says, hey, I share with BNI, but you're a dance mom, you should share with your dance moms. That's much more effective, right? What we do want to be duplicable with, though, is the results. The results are that when we sit down to share oils with someone, that we do it in a way that is simple enough that they can sit down and share it with someone that they care about and help them. That's the result that we want to duplicate. Not necessarily the community that we do it in, not necessarily all the exact words, just the process of being simple, and the results from that is what we ultimately want to duplicate. And we can do that with a kit, we can do that with product guides. And we don't need to get hung up in having every brochure from Wild Nation or every slide up banner or every PowerPoint or every printed handout that you can possibly dream of. I just don't have any of that stuff anymore. Like, I just don't have it. And if people say to me, well, what do you say to people? I say, I ask them questions and I listen and I speak from the heart. And that for me has been really effective. And that also is something that you get better with time. Like, if I look back, like I said, I read from a script. If I look back to how I started, I didn't start that way. Just like a surgeon doesn't start walking into an operating room and cut somebody's heart out and, whatever, gives them a new heart. They have to go to school and they have to start on cutting the frog's heart out first. I'm thinking they start on the frogs or mice or something before they get to doing open heart surgery on, our grandpas. Anyways, may we all get out our scalpels and just do some open heart surgery on some frogs and keep it simple, and continue to keep it simple through the whole process is the bottom line. And I hope you guys have a great day and chat soon.